Your brain is lying to you. Every time you tell someone about your big plans, something strange happens inside your head. Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical you would feel if you had actually achieved something real. So for a moment, you feel proud, satisfied, almost accomplished. But nothing has been built. Nothing has changed. And this is why so many people talk about success for years, while their lives stay exactly the same. Today's story is about a man who discovered this truth in the most humiliating way possible. And by the end of this story, you might realize something uncomfortable about your own dreams. In a quiet town, surrounded by hills, lived a young man named Daniel. Daniel had something most people didn't. He knew how to speak. When Daniel talked, people listened. At the market, at the bakery, during warm evenings when neighbors gathered in the square, Daniel always had ideas. He described the garden he would build one day. Rows of vegetables, bright flowers, a peaceful place where everyone could sit together. Another day he talked about repairing the broken wooden bridge over the creek. Everyone hated that bridge. Several boards had rotted through. Crossing the creek meant walking nearly 20 minutes around the valley. Daniel had a plan to fix it. A strong bridge, better than before. And sometimes Daniel talked about teaching the village children. Stories, lessons, life advice. People admired him. He's going to do something big one day. But there was a strange pattern in Daniel's life. The more beautifully he described his future, the less anything actually changed. Daniel loved the feeling of talking about plans. People would nod, smile, encourage him, and every time he spoke about his future, he felt a small rush of pride, almost like he had already started. "I'll do it later." Daniel said this sentence often. "I just need the right moment. I need a better plan. I need more time." Weeks passed, then months. The garden never appeared. The bridge stayed broken, and the children never gathered for lessons. Without realizing it, Daniel had become addicted to the feeling of ambition, not the work, just the feeling. One evening, Daniel stood in front of a group of neighbors near the market. He was explaining his newest idea. "I've been thinking about building a workshop," he said. "I could make furniture for everyone here." People nodded politely, but someone else spoke. A small voice. A boy named Peter. Peter looked at Daniel and asked a simple question. "If it's such a good idea, why haven't you started?" The crowd grew quiet. Daniel laughed awkwardly. "Well, I'm still planning." Peter frowned. "My father says, if something stays broken too long, it means nobody really wants to fix it." The words hit harder than Peter realized. That night, Daniel walked home alone. For the first time in years, his own words sounded empty. Daniel stood in front of a mirror. He tried to practice explaining another new idea, but halfway through the sentence, he stopped. The words sounded fake, rehearsed. He looked down at his hands. They were smooth, soft, no scars, no callus. Nothing about them suggested someone who built things. And suddenly, Daniel felt something he had never felt before: embarrassment. Stoic philosophers once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Daniel realized something worse. He had been living almost entirely in imagination. The next morning, Daniel woke earlier than usual. He didn't announce any new plans. He didn't tell anyone what he was about to do. Instead, he walked quietly toward the creek. The broken bridge stood there, like a reminder of everything he had promised, but never done. Daniel stared at it for a long time. Then he picked up the first rotten board. It snapped easily. He carried it to the side. Then he looked at the empty space in the bridge and realized he had no idea what he was doing. Later that morning, an old craftsman named Thomas walked by. Thomas had spent his entire life building things: houses, fences, roofs. He watched Daniel struggling with the broken bridge. "What are you doing?" Thomas asked. "Trying to fix it." Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. Thomas stepped onto the bridge carefully. Then he pointed at the large gap in the wood. "You were focusing on what?" Daniel hesitated. "The whole bridge." Thomas shook his head. "That's why people fail." He picked up a loose plank. "You focus on one board. Bridges are not built in speeches. They're built board by board." Daniel tried to lift a heavy plank. It slipped from his hands. Thomas stopped him. "Too big." He handed Daniel a smaller board. "Start with something you cannot fail." Later, Daniel started explaining his plan again. Thomas raised his hand. "Stop talking. Use the hammer." After an hour, Daniel leaned against the railing, exhausted. "I'll finish the rest tomorrow," he said. Thomas shook his head. "Finish one more board." Momentum is fragile. Without realizing it, Daniel had just learned 3 powerful lessons. Start smaller than your ego wants. Work before you talk. And always finish one more piece than you planned. The next morning, Daniel returned. And the morning after that, 2 hours every day. Some days, he replaced 2 boards. Some days, only 1. Splinters cut his fingers. His shoulders burned. Twice, he nearly quit. But each morning he returned, quietly. Slowly, the bridge changed. Then, something interesting happened. People noticed. Peter came first. "Can I help?" Daniel handed him nails. The next day, Peter's father brought tools. Then Margaret's son carried fresh wood. They didn't come because Daniel asked. They came because they saw something real happening. 3 weeks later, the bridge was finished. It wasn't perfect. The wood didn't match. The ropes were uneven, but it was strong. Children ran across it again. Farmers crossed the creek without walking around the valley. Nobody gave Daniel a speech. But something changed. When people looked at him, now, they didn't see a dreamer. They saw a builder. One evening, Daniel sat beside Thomas again. "I understand something now," Daniel said. Thomas looked up. "What's that?" "Talking about success is easy, but building something small every day, that's hard." Thomas nodded. "The world is full of people who describe bridges beautifully, but the people who change things pick up the hammer." Then he looked at Daniel's hands. "Rough now, scared. These hands speak louder than promises." So here is a strange question for you. Think about the last dream you told someone about. Now ask yourself honestly, what have you actually done about it? Since the last time you talked about it, not the whole dream, just the first board. Because real change never begins with motivation. It begins with actions so small, no one else even notices.